Hello, welcome back to the Tears of Fire podcast, a podcast where I go over the Last Dragon Chronicles by Chris DeLacy, and today we'll be covering chapters 49 through 52 of Firestar. We only have a short time until this book is over, and I'm coming to you the day after Valentine's Day. I hope you guys had a good day, and I hope your flight in had no turbulence. With that, let's get into the show. We left off last week with Brother Bernard and Brother Vincent having a conversation on whether the dragon Grockle was an angel or devil, and then both Brother Vincent, who is Arthur, and the dragon Grockle were taken prisoner, or, taken captive, and both thrown into a cell. And this brings us into chapter 49, Tooth of Ragnar, same day. This is a very, very short chapter, only a page and a half long. Don't have too much to say, but we didn't get any names to begin with, so I was wondering if we were in the perspective of maybe Xana or Guilana, because it was saying that a woman presence was feeling something around her, and she was familiar with it. A couple paragraphs later, we get that it's a Fane trying to communicate with this being, and this being says, "I know what you are, we are one and the same, we have the same goal." As the Fane starts to question this person, she flies off and takes the form of a raven. Still didn't get any names, but to me this just confirmed that it was Guilana. Obviously we've had her transforming back and forth for quite a while now, and we know that she's been trying to oversee this process. Obviously it's her evil plan. But when the Fane is asking to interrogate Guilana, he's asking questions about Gwaine, where his final resting place is, and what her plan is to bring him back. Guilana doesn't really answer him, and she gets only about, it says, 10 flaps of her wings away before the Fane take control of her mind in bird form, and she becomes stuck in a block of ice. This threw me through a little bit of a loop. I wasn't sure how Guilana's plan is going to be able to be enacted if she's frozen in ice, and yet with the Fane being so powerful, it also gives me a little bit of apprehensiveness moving forward, especially with one being inside of Godith and inside of the Penny Kettle household already. If they're powerful enough to stop Guilana in her tracks, then what could they do once they get the power of the ice fire? Or, if they get a hold of somebody with David's abilities to write, or Arthur for that matter. And Arthur does plan on coming back eventually. He says once this is all done, he's going to go back to be with Liz. This also makes me think that the Fane have something different planned. Obviously Guilana, and if she is one and the same and has a Fane with her from ancient times, we don't really know how that Fane could have either been adapting to our way of lifestyle, or if Guilana herself has been kind of changing slowly but surely over the 900 years that she's been alive. So I'd be interested to see the Fane that's in her and the Fane that tried to interrogate her interact directly, to see if their values have changed, if the goal has changed without them being able to communicate, obviously. So I'm excited to see where that leads. But then that takes us to chapter 50, Brother Vincent's cell 2 days later. It's said that there's 3 brothers of the council that come and take Grockle away. They try to sedate him with a rabbit just filled to the brim of one of the brothers' sleeping medication that he must take. And so while he's groggy, they tie him up. They say that they bind Grockle by his wings, and they put 2 chains around his back ankles to keep him tethered, as well as one around his neck tied to the ceiling beam to kind of hold him in place. And I wasn't sure how strong a dragon that's, of teenager size again, what it's going to be able to pull apart. I would think that some wooden beams wouldn't be as strong, but maybe Grockle is still in an infant state and not really able to destroy much. But all of these monks are scared. Obviously, they don't know what's going on. They've never seen a creature like this before, and while there are tales of dragons in folklore, nobody really wants to believe it. They're trying to go back and forth with each other, deciding if this is an angel or a demon. and Brother Bernard is absolutely lost. Brother Bernard is checking on Brother Vincent. Vincent's asking him what's going on, what's the plan, and they need to be letting Grockle go. Bernard tells Arthur that Brother Hugo is calling the mainland and looking for assistance there. This upsets Arthur greatly because obviously, just like in real life here and in any medium that you're going to be participating in for entertainment, whether that's books, movies, shows, whenever there's something that we're not sure of as a humanity, the first thing that we're going to do is experiment on it, right? We're going to take it, dissect it, pull it apart to see how it works, where it came from, why it does what it does. And this is exactly what Brother Vincent is worried about, and he tells Brother Bernard that if he was going to do a mercy, he might as well kill the dragon now, because whatever the government's planning to do to it is going to be worse. And this throws Brother Bernard through his morals. It says that he's come to love and appreciate all of God's creatures that he's created, even if this being had a vicious look to him. He couldn't help but wonder. He did have some hesitations, though, thinking that maybe this being possibly wasn't made by God, and if this was the case, it's probably best to stay away. But through pleading and begging, Arthur tells Brother Bernard that this dragon is more. He just needs to go talk to him, be able to communicate, and it'll change his beliefs. Arthur advises Bernard that Grockle is the only hope in humanity, but also brings danger with him, so they must act fast. And that's going to bring us to the end of that chapter and into chapter 51. This brings me to a question. Have you guys ever seen anything, read anything, or been made aware of anything that has changed your core beliefs or something that made you question it? How did you deal with that? What was it? If you feel comfortable enough to comment, either leave a comment on Spotify or you can email me at thelastdm@gmail.com. Gadzooks, thelastdm@gmail.com, and I'd love to hear that. If you guys don't mind it being shared on the pod, I'll do that too. That's going to bring us to chapter 51, Stable Block Next Morning. The comments that Arthur had made to Bernard had been eating him alive all night. So he decides to see for himself on if this dragon can communicate and is intelligent beyond that of an average animal. Bernard comes to one of the brothers who's on guard watching the dragon and knows that he's lying, but he tells him that he's there to feed the dragon on Brother Hugo's orders, that they need the dragons alive for the mainland. The brother on guard is hesitant, but does not like being around the dragon. He says that the smell is horrible. You can tell that it's just rancid, and every time it opens its mouth, wretched smell comes forth like rotting meat. This brother takes his leave, and Bernard decides to come up to Grockle, and it's a slow conversation at first. Brother Bernard is just trying to talk to him in just normal English language, asking him if he's hungry, showing him this rabbit that he brought. At first, Grockle doesn't do much. He does lift his head to take a look at the rabbit and just lets out some low-level growls, not saying anything. Bernard remembered what Arthur had said the night before, that you might need to speak to him in a tongue that he would recognize, something from up north on the older side. So Brother Bernard takes a second and he thinks about the languages that he learned during his historical studies. He chooses one of a Canadian tribe up north in the Arctic, which I'm sure is very close, if not the village that Xana's in right now, and asks Grockle if he's hungry. Grockle then reacts a little bit more noticeably in acknowledging him. He kind of squints his eyes to focus on Brother Bernard, which scares Brother Bernard, and I would too. It says that some light layers go through between its eyes, which kind of reminds me like how a snake would blink, or maybe even a crocodile, how they have those sideways eyelids in order to keep the stuff out of their eyes while they're hunting and swimming. After a bit of time, though, Brother Bernard asks him what he is. Grockle takes a second, but then lets out his own name in a low growl, just saying Grockle. Brother Bernard was confused and not sure if this was a response or just an average animal saying its own, or an average animal making its own noise. To me, it made me think of like Pokemon, how those Pokemon on the TV shows back in the day could only say their own name. But after a few more attempts, Bernard throws the rabbit over to Grockle, and he asks him where he came from. Grockle takes a second, but after shredding into the rabbit, he just gives out a low growl saying Xana. Which is kind of surprising. I figured that since Liz was the one that woke him up with her Alma and the hair that she gave the Penny-Kettle dragons, maybe he might claim her. But it does make sense seeing that Xana's the one that quickened him in the last book. So it's cool to know that he's taking ownership of her. That was one of my big questions to begin with. Then after that, Brother Bernard is asking who the father is then. Grockle gets upset and doesn't answer right away, saying water. So Brother Bernard goes and fills up this bucket from the outside spigot, brings it back, and he's pushing the bucket and the rabbit that he had given him with the handle of a broom so he doesn't have to get too close. He's scared, obviously, of this thing that's got, razor-sharp claws and serrated teeth that are just made to kill. After about 5 buckets, Grockle seems to be satisfied with his hydration levels. Bernard tries to ask again, who is the father? Grockle takes a second to answer, but he looks deep into Brother Bernard's eyes and lets out a long, deeper growl than he had been before, but saying Gwaine. After hearing this, Brother Bernard said that's more than enough proof to prove that this dragon is of higher level intelligence. He's disgusted by the actions that the Brotherhood has taken to bind this creature and humiliate it against the ways of God. So he decides that he wants to go talk to Brother Hugo in order to try to alleviate some of this dragon's issues. And that brings us to the end of that chapter. In every book, the first interaction you have with the dragon is on the scary side. Most of the time they're towering over you, maybe talking through your mind, just leaving this unimaginable strength and impression on you. This one's a little bit different because we get to meet it as maybe not a child, but as a still a toddler stages, I would say. And this man that's had no tie to it whatsoever, I could only imagine being put in his shoes. Everything you thought you knew being thrown just against the wall and shattered in an instant, and not sure which way to go. You have one person telling you that there's great danger coming, and another trying to stifle things down and wait for the man. I don't know what I would do. I think I would have to err on the side of dragons. Just that's always been my fantasy, but who wouldn't want to be part of a bigger story? And to be the person to put a stop to it and then almost doom humanity would be terrible. I could see why Brother Bernard is having such a hard time choosing between those, especially after years and years of meditation and being on a higher plane spiritually than others. I mean, you got to be wondering, you just got to be questioning on who really is the power. Brother Bernard hurries into Brother Hugo's office, Abbot Hugo's office. Abbot Hugo is in the middle of reviewing all of Arthur's manuscripts. He's reading them and he's asking Brother Bernard if he can explain something to him. He says that though most of these stories hold no significant weight, there's something about them that seems a little bit more real. Brother Bernard goes on to explain a little bit of Arthur's theory, saying that he's writing a fictional story based on true events, which is a genre here, that's historical fiction, not anything crazy. But then Abbot Hugo is wondering how it works. He's not able to get the claw to write only a few drops here and there, and asks Brother Bernard to show him. And Brother Bernard is a little hesitant at first, but he's trying to get Brother Hugo to listen to him. And Hugo is absolutely distracted by this, so Bernard sees that the only way to get through to him and talk to him is to answer his questions. Brother Bernard takes a little bit of water, pours it on the claw, and he gets a weird tingling feeling in him. This makes me wonder if anybody can have the ability. You just have to knock or tap into it, and is a tool the only thing you need to be able to tap into it. Obviously, David only had Gadzooks. He must have had the ability naturally, versus people like Arthur and Bernard who came into contact with the claw, a relic that has power in and of itself. And do the dragon's blood just kind of contain the magic of dark matter, period? is a question that it brought up for me. My brother Bernard explains the theory to Hugo about what dark matter is in the realm and how somebody could tap into it through their conscious expansion. Abbot Hugo looks a little concerned at this and asks Brother Bernard if he means that Arthur is taking a drug. Bernard answers truthfully that he's not sure, but he doesn't believe so. During the demonstration with the claw, one of the brothers who was on duty watching the dragon comes in, saying that the other brother had been blinded. There was a bunch of commotion all about as the monks run back and forth between trying to yell for medical help, for nurses, for whatever they may need. In the background, it said that you can hear Arthur start yelling and screaming that he needs to be released. There's something going on, so everybody can feel this bad energy starting to build. Brother Hugo gets up and leaves. And during that time, Brother Bernard looks around what he can do. He takes the claw and he writes Farlow Island and sends it to an address that he sees on an envelope that Arthur had written. The address belonged to David Rain at Wayward Crescent. To me, that was a pretty good twist. When we got that letter to begin with David, I thought obviously it was going to be Arthur, but this little flashback of part 3 helped a lot. I appreciate it. I think the chapters could have been a little bit longer altogether just to sit with these characters and get to know them. I would have liked to know what Arthur's characteristics were on a day-to-day basis before finding the claw, and how Brother Bernard would go about this afterwards too. But alas, we don't get that. We just get that Brother Bernard is going to be involved pretty heavily, I would think, if he's the one bringing David over. I'd like to see how David's going to bust out Arthur, or maybe it's going to be Grockle. At this point, I pretty much have no memory besides one thing coming up, I believe, at the end of this book, with a little surprise. And then after that, the rest of the series is going to be completely just blank slate for me. So thank you guys very much for joining me. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know at gadzooks@gmail, or you can hit me up on Spotify or YouTube. I hope you have a safe flight out and hit no turbulence. We'll see you next week.